Welcome to another episode of The Scoop. So tonight we have a great show lined up for you. For starters, we'll let everybody know. Float 8 Excalibur. I will be riding this Friday.
Where at?
Metri.
When?
7 p.m.
Who?
Excalibur.
What?
Excalibur. The crew of Excalibur. The mighty crew of Excalibur. Float 8. I'm not 100% which side I'm going to be on, but as soon as I find that out, I will update accordingly. If you're out there, holler. I have some really cool special stuff for friends out there, including the personalized beads and lots of good stuff. Are you going to be out there, Devin?
No.
No, of course not. You see, how does Devin love me? He doesn't.
I'll be in Boston.
Yeah, he'll be in Boston. So enjoy your trip, sir. I know that you're looking forward to your trip.
I won't enjoy it.
Have you ever been to Boston?
Never.
So you get to see
Boston.
Beantown.
Known for their beans.
Known for their beans.
I've never really wanted to go to Boston. I have a friend up there, and that's the only reason really why. Not going there for the beans.
You're going for the clam chowder, eh?
No, I didn't know they were known for clam chowder either. I wish I was going to New York or something where I could be like, oh, Times Square. The statue, it's just like off the top of your head. You'd be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Besides drinking, I know I'm going to be drinking, day drinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to get there. I'm leaving here at 6. I'm getting there at 8 or something.
You're going for the butt.
Yeah.
The Boston butt.
Yeah. And then I'm going to go to a planetarium.
A planetarium?
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I don't know. I'm just winging it. I'm just going to walk around.
Hey, that's some of the best trips.
Yeah. Swing it.
So we do have a special show. We have an interview with Lazy Eye. We talk all kinds of stuff about photography.
We talk about the business of photography. We talk about the technicalities of photography, the nitty-gritty, how he gets into photography. We just kind of pretty much cover all of pretty much everything. Dot the I's, cross the T's.
Yes.
Yeah.
So without further ado, enjoy our interview with Lazy Eye. Welcome to another episode of The Scoop. So tonight, before I introduce tonight's guest, I want to make a special thank you to the Wolf, who came and helped us with a little predicament that we were having. So mad props to Mayday. Be sure to check out Not Real Radio. You can check them out every Sunday night on notrealradio.com. And if you're a band out there, you're looking to get your album recorded, hit up Mayday. He's a great guy, and he's got really great engineering skills. But without further ado, I do have a special guest here tonight. Tonight we have Lazy Eye. So Lazy Eye, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So a lot of the times when we see you, you're talking about the music photography, which, that's where we first met you was, I'd say probably around the Scorsese's times. And,
oh, yeah. Yeah. I want to say I met Czar at Southport when he was doing a live painting. And I might have been shooting the Rage Against the Machine cover, Know Your Enemy.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the first shoots I've done. That was way in the beginning. So them and the Scorsese's were probably my jumping points.
But all along you've been doing, Family Graw, and you've done lots of, models and whatnot. But a part that really intrigues me, and I don't think that really it gets a lot of coverage is you do a shitload of coverage of Mardi Gras as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing like Family Gras for about the last 6 years now. And then I've been Endymion's photographer for 4 through another company. But I mean, I get some of the best access to the parade of Endymion that really you can get anywhere. There's no other photographers where I go, and it's really like, say at the extravaganza, it's me in the front row with all the people that run Endymion and nobody else in terms of news coverage. So it's pretty cool getting the access to where I can be, especially even when the floats come into the Superdome. Like I get to the vantage point from the VIP area of seeing all those floats.
As opposed to just like behind a sea of people.
Right.
Or...
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people there too, man. It's nice because I can jump barricades. Like I'm the only one who can get anywhere in the Superdome. I almost got it. I was the first year I was shooting Endymion. I'm standing up. I wanted to get this huge shot of all the floats surrounded in the Superdome because they go in a circle and come back out. So I wanted all the floats out and then just like a giant wide shot. So I'm going upstairs and I see this caution tape and I'm like, whatever, caution tape, who cares? I can go wherever I want. I'm the photographer, right? So all of a sudden the last float comes in and the caution tape was up there because it was pyrotechnics. And so all these explosions were about to go off in the Superdome and I'm standing like right next to it.
You're in them.
I heard it was like almost like going to war. Like I heard a noise after it fucking started going off. Like it was crazy. So I get to go anywhere, but sometimes it's not necessarily the best thing.
So besides Mardi Gras as well, you do a lot of press shots for, let's see, I've seen several pictures from the lottery where you're doing photography with them.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of buildings and
Politicians.
and
Yeah, I'm all over the place, man. Really, the thing how I say it is I just won't take pictures of babies. That's about the only thing that's faux pas in terms of lazy eye photos capabilities. But I've got a couple really good real estate people that I shoot for, some home builders, some local home builders, and then really just I'll have companies that maybe are in the middle of a project and want like before and after shots, and I can give them stuff like that. The portraiture is something that I don't necessarily do a lot of unless you're in a band. Like I've done a couple headshots for people and things of that nature, but I try to focus primarily on the music side of it just because, I mean, it's honestly just the most fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if I'm going to try to say I'm going to create my own destiny and, choose my own job, I'm going to go fully and try to make sure that it encompasses the music side of it because that's what I really like.
And you do a lot of bands. Just a few weeks ago, you were doing Fighting for Frequency.
Yeah. Yeah. Their CD release party at Southport Hall.
And every year you go to the festival over there in Florida.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, it looks like from the news that Halloween's going to be no more. They ended up owing a lot of their artists that did the installations money still and a couple of acts, and they still haven't been paid yet. So it might be good that I got the opportunity to go shoot it when I did because I think that festival is no more. But we do get to shoot. I mean, I get to shoot. I might be covering Jazz Fest this year, which I'm excited about because I've never technically covered it on assignment.
Yeah.
And I've got Buku Fest coming up that I cover every year.
Yes.
And then, I just I went to Voodoo this year because I got the chance because Halloween was on an off time. So I got to bring my son to Voodoo, which was fun. It was like bring your kid to work day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to show him around and be like, that's where I go stand. I get to go around that corner and like get on stage right there. So I think it was cool for him to do that with me. So I had a good time this year.
Who was your favorite act to
well, okay, so my favorite, I was really excited to go see the Arctic Monkeys. That's like one of my favorite acts personally, and my son likes them. And I saw them a couple years ago when I first shot Voodoo, and I loved that. It was a great set. That's actually where I ended up learning about them. This year, I would have to give it to them, honestly, and I may be biased because it's probably one of my favorite bands, but I didn't get to go to the first day either, so I don't know exactly how that day went. There could have been some good acts there. I just couldn't make it. It's fun. I actually, I had to go work, which is a great reason to not, be able. Because there's, unfortunately, man, as much as I'd love to shoot festivals all my life, there's not a whole lot of money in it. It's pretty hard to stay afloat if that's all I'm going to do.
Well, you do, I would assume you're still doing a good bit of like prints afterwards?
And-
Or with the festivals, are you selling more of that exclusively to the festival?
Well, it's almost different in every scenario. Like for Family Gras, for instance, I'm hired by the Convention and Visitors Bureau as the photographer for Family Gras, so I'm exclusive on that. So they get all the pictures from me in the contract, but they pay upright for them, so it's good.
Right.
And then like for Voodoo, for instance, I'm on assignment from a website. Musicfestivalcentral.com is who sends me to Halloween and Voodoo and Buku and those festivals. But I mean, it's crazy because if I'm not shooting it, somebody else would shoot it technically just for tickets for free.
Right.
So it's a hard, like, you know, I get paid a little bit, but not as much as I would in just if I was doing, say, Family Gras.
Yeah.
Because, you know, anybody who wants to can try out and do it. And, you know, it's a hard little industry to make money in, for that's
A
for
lot
sure.
of competition.
Yeah, a lot of competition. And then, I mean, if your competition saying I'll do it for almost nothing, you know, it gets a little rough sometimes.
Well, even in the music scene, you know, there's 4 or 5 folks that, you know,
Yeah.
like at the benefit show,
Don
it was
Cooper.
you, Don,
Yeah.
KPJ
KPJ was there, yeah.
and Devin was out there. So
Yeah.
I wasn't really.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't trying to step
there's
on
a-
anyone's
yeah, but-
toes.
And that's the thing, dude. As
I
long as you
brought
don't
my camera, and especially in the deck hall or the deck room,
Mm-hmm.
I saw Don Cooper, and I'm guessing the other guy was KPJ.
Yeah, bigger guy? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never met him personally.
Cool dude. Really cool.
But they were in the front, and I'm like, I'm not gonna, as a photographer, I'm not gonna come shoulder to shoulder with you and take the exact same photo.
Right.
Because it's happened to me before where I was accused of stealing another photographer's photo
It was just because it was
because
the
me and him
same.
were shooting at the same area.
Nice.
So I try to prevent that, and so I'll go find another place to take a photo. And you were there first. Go
Yeah.
ahead, take the photo.
So basically, I mean, it's almost like I've figured it out by now because I've been doing it for like 7 years now. Like, it's almost like the unspoken rule of photography at a concert is the person who's there on assignment gets to trump everybody else. So say, for instance, like at Fighting for Frequency, I was their hired photographer.
Yeah, you were on assignment.
Yeah, like I'm being paid by them to take these pictures. So try not to get in a picture for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, Don Cooper was covering the deck room for Zombies Eating Sheep. I believe, I'm pretty sure, like he was asked to shoot it for them.
Yeah.
So he should get top billing of any picture he wants of there. And then I noticed he came over when Allie went on stage, which is totally right. Like, you know, your band came to another show, like cover it. Like that's what you should
Yeah.
do. But I mean, there's no reason for him to take pictures of the band that I'm taking pictures of because one, I mean, I'm already covering it, and two, it's just going to be repetitious, like you said.
Yeah. So there was an instance where Don took a photo from a different angle, and I took one at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty much like it was a good photo. Allie was doing her thing, and it came out great on both angles.
Yeah,
his
like
was
mirrored.
a close up. Yeah, his was a close up of her right side of her face, and mine was a far away full body shot of the left side of her.
Cool.
Both same photos taken at the exact same time.
And that
it's
works.
just- it happens.
Yeah. It's just like you don't want to be in front stage taking photos. Like, say, for instance, I'm covering a wide angle of the crowd with the band and everything, but I'm doing it from a side angle. You don't want to be up there taking pictures because you're going to be by yourself in the shot because there's like a little gap between the stage and the audience.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are things you kind of want to look out for. And I mean, I've cursed at Don through my computer a couple of times because I've seen him in shows. But I mean, he actively tries to not be in the way, and I do the same. It's courtesy. It's courtesy. You just got to know your surroundings, and then
I think other photographers have this, like, they don't have to say it, but they, like,
yeah,
look at each other, like, oh,
yeah.
and then they duck down and get out the way.
And then one other thing, I mean, if we're on the subject, is never pop a flash at a concert if you're not shooting the show. So like I've seen, because if someone's hired to take pictures of that set, there's certain lighting and everything that the photographer realizes, and if you start popping flashes, it really messes with your ability to take the photo in terms of like what you have set for your camera and then what's there if it catches the flash.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I'm by myself and there's no other photographers and it's just a regular thing, I like to play with, like, throughout the week or throughout the month before I go take photos, I'm like, oh, that's a cool technique. I want to try to use that. Use the ceiling or the back wall as a backflash,
Yeah.
so it's a softer light.
Yeah.
Where I'm getting the lights they have in house, but also
Not killing the ambient, but enhancing the person. Because
Yeah.
a lot of these people aren't front lit, dude, and that makes it really hard to get a good picture of somebody.
So sometimes I'll just mess around. Like for Christmas, someone got me one of the spheres. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play around with this, see what this is about, So usually I try to like do my testing at where there's no other photographers, or I'm not messing them up.
Yeah.
Or, like I said, stepping on their toes.
Yeah, it's just a courtesy, man. And really, like, even if you just walk into a place and try to look around for a photographer and don't see one, then you've done your part. Like, that's all,
Or
and
I try to talk to them.
Yeah, I'll
between
make
the
myself known.
songs
Yeah, I'll
or
try to be
before
like,
the show. Yeah.
yeah, of course. Yeah, and I mean, there's, it's not, there's a lot of bands right now, and there's a lot of, as you would say, meat on the bone. Mm-hmm. But, everybody seems to kind of group with their photographers. Like, like if I shoot one band, for instance, that'll lead to a couple other bands, and then I'm kind of their photographer. Mm-hmm. And that happened with a band lately, Neutral Snap. They're out of Baton Rouge, and I've shot them like 10 times in the last year. And I mean, that's a lot. Like, for a band to bring a photographer on 10 times is saying, like, that's a big gesture,
Yeah.
So then they're actually playing Family Girl this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're moving through the ranks, dude. I need one of these bands to make it, bro. I need one of these bands to make it. Bring me on tour with you. Let's make some cool pictures and like let's all get famous together, Like that's all the photographers I follow on Instagram, like it's all just they got in with one good band and they just took off with them.
Where like they
Yeah,
because
because
photographer for
because why would you change photography?
311 or
Unless the record company has their own person that would force you to like maybe contractually not keep your guy. There's a camaraderie between photographers and bands, dude. Like we like, and once you can break that wall down, where it's kind of because it's awkward if you've never met me and I'm coming to take pictures of y'all. There's an awkwardness stage, but like
you build that repertoire.
Yeah.
And that camaraderie with those people.
And then once they let down and become themselves and have more fun, and I'm having more, like, because like if you have fun while you're taking pictures, the pictures come out so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. If you're just enjoying yourself. And that's why my festival pictures, I think, come out really good because I have the time of my life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out there enjoying the shit out of it. Like, I got a smile ear to ear, man.
Doing DMT.
Yeah, Joe Rogan style, dude. DMT all the way. No, I don't think I could do DMT and have camera gear on me. I feel like that'd be I don't know if insurance covers that.
Yeah. There's one photographer that I met when I was like 15, 16, right about when I was getting into photography. And this guy, he came up in L.A. when all the band... Oh, no, I think he lived in L.A. and Seattle. So he was around, like, right time, right place. So he got to shoot. He shot Ozzy, Marilyn Manson, a lot of big names.
Yeah.
And that's who he is in with. He's done Pantera's album covers.
Nice.
He's done a lot of he's metal. That's like his area. And early California pop punk stuff.
Cool.
But after following him for 8 years now, just kind of seeing what he does, like he has his, like Marilyn Manson wants him to do his stuff.
Right. He's
Tool,
the guy for
he's done a couple
people.
Tool stuff. Like and I've seen this all my life, and actually meeting the guy and then going through his portfolio, I'm like, wow, he's done like a lot of stuff with these people, and it's because he's just, they go to him because they've built that repertoire.
Yeah, that's all you need, man. That's all you need. And like, you feel comfortable around certain photographers, like these guys in Neutral Snap, now that I've done it so many times, like I feel like a member of the band sometimes. Like we'll travel in the van together and go to different shows and stuff, and like go out to eat before the show and stuff. Like, and that's where you can get some of those pictures that you don't necessarily get all the time. I don't just show up to the show, we shoot the show and I leave. Like backstage stuff or like antics or like fun random, like nothing set up, just like spur of the moment, like y'all go over here and like jump on each other's type stuff.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize with photographers. It's a lot of legwork before the show, during the show, in between the bands. Just you're having to be 20 places at one time.
Yeah.
And then sticking after the show for 2 hours to talk to the bands because you're networking yourself.
Yeah.
You're just as a photographer, you're constantly trying to sell you
Oh yeah.
and your product and network yourself.
For sure. Because, I mean, I got my degree in school for public relations. Like, I took one photography class in school, and it was black and white film developing. So, I mean, it's nothing like I do now.
Yeah.
And it worked out well that I did that because I took some business classes. I got a little bit of business sense, and I kind of know, I didn't know how to run a business, but I got the gist of it. So, and really all running a business is screwing up a million times and hoping no one finds out about it. Because that's really, as long as you save face, you know, you're a product. And I tried selling cars for a little bit. I worked in a restaurant for like a decade. I went to culinary school for a little bit, decided it wasn't for me, got my degree, had a kid, and then I'm sitting there in the restaurant business like I just don't like it anymore. I need to get out. So I knew I had sales as a backup, so I went to car sales. Realized that car sales is the devil, and I didn't want to lie to people straight to their face.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, what am I going to do? And then I started taking photography like a little bit more serious, and a couple people on Facebook were like, oh, we like your pictures. Maybe you should try it out. And I was like, let's try it. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? And I'm not a bad salesperson, but what are you going to sell better than yourself? You know,
Right.
like if you believe in yourself that you can actually make something. And I've been doing this for 7 years. I'm probably in a year and a half where I fully believe like I can do it. Like I feel like I'm the person that could do, like, I didn't want to take some gigs because I knew there were people out there that could do the job much better than me, and I was nervous, so I would pass on a lot of stuff. And like come around right now, I'm ready to do it. Like put a new thing in front of me and let me try it out. I'm sure I have the backup knowledge to accomplish whatever goal we're trying to set now.
So when you go look at photos, I know so far before we even started the interview, there's a couple things you said. I'm like, because I don't have a lot of photographer friends that they talk about their photography or how they think about photography. The photographers I don't, they just kind of keep to themselves and don't really talk.
Yeah.
And so far, since you've been here, there's been a couple of things that I'm like, wow, I'm glad I'm not the only person that thinks that way. As far as like taking the same photo over and over and over and over, that was one thing that I can name off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it really, like, I've gone on photo walks with like 15 photographers, and I try to stay like current on all the people. Like I know what KPJ just shot. I know what Don Cooper just shot. I know what a couple other local photographers have shot. I follow people on Instagram that are like my idol photographers. Like you were saying, like your boy from California. There's a guy, I thought you were talking about this guy, Jeff Kravitz, that I follow. And he's like Getty's photographer, like shoots like everything. Like he's the one that got the picture of Kurt Cobain with the wings behind him that always gets like shown from that Unplugged. He shot that. So I mean, he's covered every MTV Music Award. So he's got every name you could imagine. And he's the one who got the Prince in the Rain shot. He was out there, dude. Hearing him tell the story about how all of his lenses were fogging up because it's Florida and it's raining, and he wiped his lens off and like couldn't even tell if he was getting the shot and was just doing it just because that was all he could do.
Right.
Because that happens, dude, especially in Louisiana, man. When you go outside, all your gear just fogs up if it's cold inside, and they don't have anything for that, man. It's just like you got to let it warm up. Like that's all I can do.
Right.
So I've actually gotten to the point now where, like, say I'm shooting a wedding, I'll go put lenses outside if I know we're about to do something outside and let them warm up. So by the time I get out there, I can use it. And I've had to learn that from not having a lens because I was wiping it off and the fog just kept coming back.
Yeah.
So like hearing like pretty much my idol photographer talk about that, I'm like, that's cool, man. And the more photographers would talk about what happens to them, the better we're all going to become. It's not like anybody's going to get worse. And there's a lot of things that you can learn just from like mistakes. Like if I've made a mistake, I would love for somebody not to go through some of the things that I've had to go through because of mistakes I've made, you know, and it's just talking about it. And I could probably, I mean, even if you just started, you could have learned something that I've never seen before. So like, why not talk about it?
There's one photographer I met, and I've never seen him again, so I don't know if he was actually real or not type situation.
Were you smoking DMT?
And me and a friend, I've never told this story a second time, but I've told it to one person, and they quote it all the time.
Yes.
But this old man, I'm talking like 55, maybe 60, he was shooting a burlesque show, and I sat next to him, started talking about his camera. I'm like, oh, hey, what type of camera is that? And then he started getting into the ideology of photography. He's like, if there's one thing you need to know about photography, is you have to be there to get the photo. And I'm like, That's very cliche,
Yeah.
but goddamn, like
Yeah, it's
you have
true.
to get out of the house and get the photo.
Yeah.
You have to be there to get the photo. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is something that photographers, even that it's so simple and stupid, but it's true. You have to get out and take photos.
Well, to take that a step further, I mean, even just getting out the house is one thing, but I remember the second year I was shooting, I was covering a band at the House of Blues, and what I started doing is shooting every band. And, you know, hey, even though you didn't bring me on and hire me, here's a couple pictures, maybe the next one come around, you know, stuff like that. Like when you first starting out, that's the way to do it, is just to get as many people seeing your photos as you can. And I mean, hey, look, the money will come if the product's good. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can figure it out, then all these people, like you got a network almost of people. So anyway, I'm shooting for one band that's the headliner. So the opening bands were playing. And I started shooting the opening bands, and I was a cigarette smoker at the time. So I left and went and had a cigarette. And so I come back in. I left from upstairs and went straight outside. So I came back in. I saw some people at the bottom like, oh, man, were you just shooting? I'm like, no. They're like, dude, they just released all these bubbles, and there were bubbles all. And this was at the House of Blues. So they filled the main room with all these bubbles. And I'm sure it was amazing, right? Like I'm sure these shots would have been beautiful, but I walked outside and had a cigarette. So that's another even going further.
This sounds like a Juul commercial.
It is, which is I'm about to be a spokesperson for if these make me not want a cigarette. But you have to be there.
Yeah.
And it's literally like any second of any concert, something different can happen.
Yeah.
That one moment. And another, I got a little bit better, so I don't go out and miss shows. And then there was a Zombies Eating Sheep show, and they were raging on stage. Like people are jumping, everybody's freaking out, the song's getting loud, Allie's screaming her ass off. And something happened, and the computer that Czar was on bumped and got knocked on the ground. And I didn't take the picture of the computer on the ground because in my mind I was like, that's a really sad thing if that computer broke because now the show's over. Damn. So flash forward, I'm talking to Mark after I delivered the pictures. He's like, you didn't take a picture of the computer on the ground? I was like, no, man. Like I thought it would be bad. He's like, always take the picture.
Yeah.
Always take the picture. And that's even like getting further into being there. Not only was I there this time, now I got to make sure I'm there clicking that button.
Yeah.
Because if you just sit there and watch too much of it, you know, you're going to miss what you're there to do and document it for everyone else who couldn't see it.
That happens to me so much where I take my eye off the lens to watch the show. Just to like when they do something like, I fucking missed it.
Back button focus, bro.
And
I'm telling you, back button focus is like the cure all to any photographer's ailments. Do you ever use that?
the what?
Back button focus. So there's a button on most cameras that you can set called back button focusing, which once you have halfway pressed your shutter and locked on focus to where you know everything is going to be right, you hold the button down and then it forces your shutter so it doesn't re-change. So locking it in like that is what I do, and then I'll keep my finger on the trigger so when I turn, I can still shoot because I know what it's all focused on.
So I've done that before, but
Yeah.
sometimes I'll just put the camera down. Like, man, my arm's fucking killing me.
Yep.
I eventually got a shoulder strap to help solve that
Dude,
solution.
especially with the 70 to 200s, man, those will make your... Oh, man. Go
So
ahead.
I got the shoulder strap, and that pretty much solved that. I'm going to reroute back to the business thing.
Oh, yeah.
Advice for photographers trying to make photography a profession and not just a hobby.
Ask for money.
Just start. Oh, so
Just that...
you
like,
kind of already said it,
Yeah.
and I'm just trying to reroute it because I have been told that before of people that have made it as a photographer or as even an artist. Is you have to do a lot of free shit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And the money will come.
Well, the money will come, but the money's like people aren't going to miraculously start saying, "Hey, let me."
Here's money.
Yeah, here you go. And dude, that's like
rare that
honestly.
someone's gonna be like, "Hey, I've noticed you taking pictures of me. Here's
Yeah. Oh man.
a couple $100.
Let that person please come around.
Yeah,
and I mean, hey,
right.
not to say that like maybe not a couple $100, but that's not to say like, you know, say for instance, I'm taking pictures all night and it's a band of say kids that are not that old yet and their parents are all in and like, hey, here's $20 for taking pictures of Junior. Or, hey, you know, thank you for coming out. Like stuff like that happens. But really like a really delicate part of photography is trying to figure out what your worth is. Like, okay, if you're going to ask me to come to this, how much am I going to charge you? Because it fluctuates, but you have to keep a balance. So I have to say, if some dude comes to me and says, hey, I want you to take pictures of all the landscaping that I do, I've got to give him a number. And if another guy calls me the next day saying, hey, I want landscape pictures, I got to stay in the same ballpark.
Right.
So you have to figure out what you're worth, what your cost of doing business is, CODB, there are worksheets online, photography CODB, break down everything that is going to cost you money, and then figure out what your hourly rate's going to be. Now, you can't come out the gate charging $150 an hour. Like, that's not going to work.
Right.
But you're also not going to be having the type of client when you're first coming out that's going to ask for, like, top quality stuff. So, like, say, for instance, I shoot for one of the biggest landscape companies in the city right now, but there's a bunch of startup landscape companies that have maybe done one or two things that they want pictures of, charge them a couple dollars for going out there, you know, factor in your time editing and just add it together. It's just math. It's just figuring out. And then, like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, man. Like, I hate when people ask for bids. Cause then you're like, shit, I'm going against other people. Like,
you want it, so
you want it.
Then you unconsciously go low.
Yeah. Or I say, like, the other time I was like, you know what? I know what I'm worth now. This is what I'm worth. If they don't hire me for that, it's their loss. That I'm not going to do it for less than that. And I lost a gig recently, dude. Steel Pulse, like one of the top 10 reggae bands in the universe, hit me up for pictures through my website. Emailed me, said, hey, what's up, man? We're coming to New Orleans. Would you like? And I gave him my price. And my price isn't the lowest price, I'm sure. And I never got a call back. And actually, a buddy of mine got it who's an amazing photographer, and I'm glad that he got it, and he did a great job. Honestly, I just talked about some people like not doing better than me, and I'm not, like, he did much better than I would have done in that scenario. So it all worked out for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get that gig, ended up shooting, building on Poydras and making a lot more money than I would have for any band. So it's kind of like you got to know when to say no, because now, like, say I took that.
You know when to hold them.
Yes, and to fold them. Yeah.
And when to walk away.
Or when to run.
Yeah.
Or when to run.
I used to watch a lot of Texas Hold'em, man. Yeah. Oh, my God.
So you're talking about you and other photographers. What sets you aside? Like, what's your style?
My style.
If you think you have a style.
I have a style that I'm not one of those button mashers that, like, takes 1,500 pictures in a second. I wait as long as I can for the moment, and I try to get the exact moment that showcases what a band's sound is supposed to look like, which is a weird thing to wrap your brain around. But, like, I like to listen to bands before I go out and shoot them, so I know what style they have and, like, what I would think this band would look like almost like capture it in my head. And I've got a little bit of an editing style, kind of like a glazed over. It made it look upscale. I messed around with a ton of presets. I ended up making my own presets that I use in Lightroom. And really, once I honed it down, then I had like 3 or 4 presets that I like to use. And I realized, like, after using those for long enough, that's my style now. Like, and you shoot for that. Like, a couple of them, they bring up shadows. And for instance, for concert photography, it's dark.
Yeah.
Super dark. And like I said,
Sin style for me when it's dark.
Yeah.
Because it brings up the contrast.
Yeah. Oh, I'll slide clarity. Now, don't go crazy with clarity, man. I've seen a lot of photographers that make the mistake of, like, cartooning their pictures a little bit. I mean, and look, it's just a style preference. Like, You know what? If they sell and people like those pictures, it's relative, dude. It's all like what someone sees and if they like it or not. Like, someone could hate every one of my pictures and then someone could like a ton of them. Like, it's just, it's a style. It's art. It's relative.
Yeah.
So something that I picked up, because I didn't go straight to digital. I ended up, even though how young I am, I started on film.
Ooh.
Like, my mom would give me 35 millimeter disposable. I would go to summer camp or Boy Scouts. I would have a 35 millimeter. And then my mom always had a 35 millimeter. She would have a tape recorder. She just always had film on her.
Yeah.
And then I went to DC, took a Canon out there, and shot on it. And then from then, I just started developing my technique from film and then transferring it over to digital. So I still like overexposing.
Oh, yeah.
Doing double exposures on certain photos.
Yeah, I love double exposure, man. There's a lot of people that are doing digital double exposure with concerts right now, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, that's the thing. Like, we were talking earlier, like, I've never opened Photoshop, and I'm sure, like, if I took a couple of my pictures into Photoshop, I would just go insane with editing, which Lightroom gives you enough boundary to like still really manipulate a picture, but I can't play God, dude. Like I can't take things out of photos and do stuff like that. Like I want it to be right. And that's like another thing.
I like taking people's faces and then shrinking them to look like they are the mask.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
The band Neutral Snap, we did a photo shoot out in the Bywater, and it was like press shots, so like just pictures of the band like hanging out and stuff.
Yeah.
And they took it to an editor, and they got their bodies all shrunken down with their heads big, and it looked really, really cool. And I was like, man, that'd be fun if I could like learn how to do that. But then it's good to have.
It takes so much goddamn time.
Yeah.
I've like 30 like it's like a 30-minute set. I'll be at home for like sometimes 8 hours, depending on how much editing the photo needs. Like I only took like 100 photos at the benefit show, but of those 100 photos, like I got certain ones I'm like, ooh, I want to try a new editing style in Photoshop. Pickle saw me. I was like, hey, what do you think about this, man? Like, I was like, I'm going to do a paint strip effect on this one with a rainbow going through it. And then I'm going to do a kind of like spray paint stencil on this one. And then I'm going to do this. So it's like, if you know what you're doing, editing can go by fast, especially if you script it. Yeah. I found that out early. I'm like, dude, this takes too much time.
Yeah.
Like with the logo, going through and just put the logo through. But once you figure out what you want, it's a lot easier. But at the same time, if you're still trying to figure out, it just eats up so much time.
In the beginning, I got a crazy editing style, and that's because I was just missing the shot. Like I wasn't getting the right color, so I was going harsh with editing, like black levels all the way. Why not bring the exposure 4 stops down? Like just going crazy with it, and it developed kind of a style, but I didn't like it because I wasn't controlling it. I was at its mercy. I was like, okay, this picture turned out bad. What can I do? As opposed to shooting in the mindset of this is what I'm going to do after. Like there are some times where I take a picture, I'm like, I know that's going to be a black and white photo, but it's going to look awesome when I do it. And like little things like that. I mean, the style thing, I mean, everybody has a style, and really all your style is what you like as a photo. It's not like you're trying to create something. It's just, if I were to see somebody...
It's not about what you like. I don't care if you like snakes and sparklers. It's about the consumer.
Man, and look, if you're genuine to yourself, the consumer will totally pick on to what you're selling, and they will see it. Like, I mean, people see how much fun I have taking pictures, bro. And you can look at some, I mean, not necessarily like pictures of a building, but you see me like at a festival.
When you're at a band, at a concert, I mean, you're having just as much fun as your average Joe who's, drinking a beer and, rocking out to the music. You're just rocking out and you have your camera with you.
Because I'm never going to forget, dude. I love this job. Like, I am happy, dude. Like, I can't believe I turned this into a career. It amazes me. It amazes me that I get checks that say lazy eye photo on them. And it makes me chuckle still. Because, like, I've got corporate America saying lazy eye. And it's like, then people see me and they get the eye like, oh, I get it. And it's like... It's the comedy, dude. It's not taking life too seriously and just having as much fun as you can with it. And I'm having a freaking blast, dude. And this is going to be like, I hope this never ends. Like, I hope I can be in a wheelchair at 90 years old taking pictures with my hologram camera.
So you brought a handful of pictures.
A lot.
Some art with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the pieces that you brought?
Show me them scratch-offs.
All right. So
the scratch-offs.
I'm the commercial photographer for the Louisiana Lottery. So what we've done recently, last year we did a promotion, and all they did was come to me and said, we want to put a king cake on a scratch-off. That's all they gave me. Make that happen. So what we did was we started off with this. So this is, they turned it into a scratch-off. It's a buddy of mine's bakery. It's Cartozzo's Bakery in Kenner. We went there on location, and I'm standing on a table that they make the king cakes on top of napkins because it was serve safe. OSHA, if you're out there. And we took the pictures of this. And then they were like, okay, now we've got pictures of the cards. Now we have to make a promotion for it. So there I am in my brain putting cards that don't exist in a picture that doesn't exist.
Right.
And we came out with stuff like this. and it was just so happened they had a bunch of gold babies, and as many props as you can get, man, it's good. As many things as you can get in a picture, try to do it. And for instance, if you're talking about commercial work, leave room for print, like leave room, like offset things, and an editor is going to love you and you're going to want to come back to you if you leave room for copy on things like that. And then so we were there and we just happened to be shooting those. My buddy Angelo says, hey man, I got these little cakes. Do you want to use these for anything? On the spot, the art director's like, oh, those little baby cakes? Oh, that'd be a good name for a scratch off. Let's take pictures of it. So they're the baby cakes right there, right after. And that was a spur of the moment. Like none of that was even planned. We did that all on the spot. And that's like adaptive photography is what you need to be able to do. Being a good photographer is not just about knowing what's good. It's about solving any problem on the spot that you can do. And I mean, I feel like, not every photographer would have come up with that and would have had like the camaraderie. That was everybody in the area using their judgment to come up with something. And that was like one of their favorite tickets of the year. So, I mean, it worked out really well. Let's see. Landscape companies I've been shooting for. This is Mullen Landscape. There you go. I've been shooting with them. They were my first paying client. And when they first started, they had maybe 4 or 5 locations. And I want to say last year they did something like $5 million to $8 million of work.
Wow.
Yeah. So they have quickly propelled themselves. And a good thing about growing with a company is companies grow from advertising.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
If you want to get bigger, you like to spend money to make money thing. Like that's true. Like that's very true. Especially for companies like this. They need to get out. They need to get out what they do, and they're going to want high quality stuff. And if you catch a company while they're growing and you grow with them, because I mean, when I first did it 7 years ago, I was still editing in Windows Photo Editor on a laptop. Like there was one time where I sent a whole thing of pictures over. And they were like, why are these pictures so dark? I'm like, these pictures aren't dark. And then I go, with the screen. I'm like, oh, those pictures are really dark.
Oh, wow.
Then I learned to edit on a desktop. It helped out a lot more. But if I grew with them. And so I didn't charge them what I charge them now. I charge them more now. I grew into what my price was. And if you do that and you realize there's room for growth, like not every gig, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's $10 more. It's $20 more. But once a year's passed and I'm like, okay, my gear's gotten better. My talents have gotten better. I know when to go take the pictures. I know how to talk to the client, like blah, 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 blah. That's worth more money to me. And then I charge more money. And there have been few and far between times where people are like, we don't think that's fair. And I'm never trying to make it like, I got into this to just enjoy my life. So I'm not in this to make $1 million. I'm not making $1 million.
No.
But I'm making what I think's worth. And at the end of the day, that's a fair trade to any company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got to make what you feel that you are worth.
Yeah. And I mean, so like this, for instance, this was a quick headshot of a politician. They told me, hey, we only need like 2 or 3 pictures and we have a location. And that location is in an abandoned house that they were trying to sell. Like that's just the wall of a kitchen that got painted. And I was able to adapt to that. And that's what we got. It was raining outside. We couldn't take any pictures. And I mean, the cool thing is, in terms of the politicians I've taken pictures of, every one of them's gotten elected. And I mean, that's a fun thing. I mean, hey, that's a cool thing to have, All right. Something like that, it's really cool.
With pictures with lazy eye, you can't lose.
You can't lose with lazy eye. Maybe I should run. I'm going to try out for office next. And then, all the only other things I brought were Endymion things.
But
okay, so
there should be that big one on
the side. We got the big one right here. So this is from this year. This is I take every picture for Endymion that exists. So that's all the floats, which is awesome. You got Blaine Kern Jr. there, like pull it up. He's showing all the sketches and all the things that are going to be on the different floats. And then the girls, they get shown their gown that somebody's worked all year to make, to make those floats too. And then I get to meet like the people that make the gowns that these girls get to wear.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I was taking these pictures of the gowns last weekend, and they get so much work put into them. And I feel special as hell that I get to sit right there with the people that made them and the people that are wearing them. Because like when you see it up on a float, like you can see it as a whole, but you don't see all the feathers that are sewn into it and all the LED lights that are like, you need 10 different switches to turn on all these lights and stuff. Like, it's so intricate, man.
Yeah, I have a friend who does. She makes the collars for different Mardi Gras crews.
Oh, cool. All right.
And yeah, seeing some of the, when I'll go past by her house, I'll see, some of these collars in the making, to where like it'll just be like this wire frame.
Oh yeah.
And then
cool.
she'll like pull out like this drawing and be like, okay, this is where these lights are gonna come in. This is where all these are gonna be feathers all around here.
That foresight, man, it's crazy.
I still need to put layers onto this one.
Right. Yeah, and like sequins and like all kind of things. Like there's so many intricate details to it, and it's so amazing. And I mean, I'm standing on a ladder to take pictures of these girls in their full costume because I mean, the thing's like doubling their size. I think they said it was like 30 pounds worth of stuff that they put on.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, those collars are not light.
Yeah.
I'd say some of the headpieces.
Yeah. Yeah, so they got to put on the thing and the headpiece, and then like it's a belt that goes around. Like it's crazy, dude.
And then they also have just in case they don't fall, most floats have those.
Or the brace.
The brace for them.
Yeah.
And they're hooked up so they don't fall off.
Yep. Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm sure that extra 30 pounds, especially at a sudden stop,
Oh yeah, well, and
just
wind
tip over.
And the wind shear will blow them over. Like it rained last year for Endymion, and I mean, I felt so bad for those girls because some of those girls had like LED lights out and like spotlights out and like half their stuff blown down. Because I mean, they got a pretty good bit of rain towards the end of or actually towards the middle of it, which I lucked out, dude. Because I shoot Samedi Gras at Delgado. Have you ever been out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a cool place to catch it because they have a concert out there in the neutral ground.
Right. Yeah, they usually have, and it's not just like some like
no, it's like bag of donuts or like like a good Contra Chiwis or Chiwis Flow, whatever it is, and they would have that little concert, and then as soon as the concert's like halfway over, they start rolling the parade through, so you get to see like a concert and a parade. It's a good camaraderie thing. Like I like that little area. And then as soon as I get the maids done there, they throw me in a limo and they send me back to the Superdome. And then I got to catch them as they come into the Superdome and basically do the same shoot, but then get all of the parade and then get the people on stage performing and then get the VIPs and the owners of Endymion all having fun and then get overhead shots. And I mean, dude, I'm walking like 17 miles that day.
Oh, I believe
it's crazy.
Yeah.
What was your first camera?
Nikon D3100.
I'm guessing you still have a Nikon.
I still have a Nikon, but I would jump ship for Sony if I had a little bit more equity to throw out towards it. I really want to go mirrorless, man. It seems like the best. I see a lot of concert photographers, like in festivals and stuff, switching to mirrorless. And I mean, dude, just for weight alone, like my shoulder, I wear a bag over my shoulder, and I have my lenses that I change out, and then I keep my body in my hand. And just holding this bag with all these lenses in it, I mean, dude, there's a bump on my shoulder like that big sometimes after a festival.
Yeah.
3 days of holding it and walking around, and it like just it wears on you, dude. And like these mirrorless cameras, I met some dude at Halloween who had a Sony, and dude, it was like I don't even know, like it was like an infinity zoom. Like we're sitting in the thing, and he takes a picture of the dude's like nose, like just a picture of his nose, like. And it's great def, and I'm like, how did you do that? It's a little point and shoot looking camera. I'm like, damn, man. Yeah. And it's low light. It's not like it was an easy shot. I'm like, man, these cameras are getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And I don't necessarily consider myself invested in Nikon. It's just what I started with. But Nikon's never done me wrong. I just think that Sony has come leaps and bounds past.
It's Sony guts is what it is.
It is. And then why not get the Sony body and have the whole Sony thing? And then
I mean, and like I said, I agree with you. The money thing, like, I ended up starting with Canon and all the lenses, and I would hate just to reconfigure everything I do to go to Nikon.
And dude, Nikon and Canon are what and what, man. Like I use Canons for a lot of other gigs when I freelance, like just for other companies. And I mean, so like the school shooting clip that we talked about for so long, like when I take pictures of schools, when I take pictures of playgrounds, I do it for this company, Miller Photo, and they use all Canon. So I can use a Canon, and honestly, it's like one rotates this way, one rotates that way. There's not much difference. Yeah. Like, and I mean, the quality is the quality. If you know the megapixel of the camera,
like PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, it's all about knowing your camera's limitations. Honestly, is what photography, like in terms of like camera usage, you've got to know, okay, if I get past ISO 1600, it's going to start looking a little grainy on this camera. Some Sonys can go to like 85,000 and not look grainy. And so it's
I
like,
think the current Canon I'm shooting on, the reason I got it is because at the time I was doing almost pitch black photography.
yeah.
So I'm like, well, I don't need the newest model Canon. I need something that has high ISO. So I went with the 60 Mark II, which had, I think it goes up to 1 million.
Yeah. Now also don't misconstrue just because it goes up to it means that it'll
Oh,
be
no,
good.
no. Oh, yeah, I know
Yeah,
that part.
I've made that mistake before and it was rough.
What I mean is, if I can usually go up to 6,400.
Yeah,
and
64
still
is a
have
good.
a clean photo.
Nice. And that's usually, I mean, I would say mine goes to about 32, where I'd try to not go past 32. And that's when, like, I mean, that's when exposure triangles and things like that come into play. Like, you got to know, like, okay, if I need to compensate somewhere else, what can I compensate to?
Yeah.
A rule of thumb that got me a lot of better photos, and I was actually talking to Don Cooper on Messenger about this, is never going slower than your camera, the length of your lens. So if I'm zoomed in at 200 with a 70 to 200, I'm not going to slow my shutter past 1/200th of a second, because that's when vibration starts showing and your pictures don't come out clean. So that also means if I'm shooting with a 14 to 24, I can slow down all the way to like 1/25th of a second and still freeze motion and not have too much camera shake. And I mean, if I don't want to go past 1600 and I can slow my shutter speed down far enough and still get the picture, this is what's going on in my head when I'm taking pictures. Like, dude, it's a lot of math, like, for the most part. Like, that's, I mean, you're thinking about angles and everything, but subliminally, I'm like, okay, I'm changing this as I'm changing this. It's like a dance. It's like, trying to get that right, because there is a right setting for every scenario. At least in what you're trying to do. There's a right setting. And you got to find it sometimes. And sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're way off. But then, especially in concerts where lights are changing constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you can mentally check, like...
lights and costume changes.
Oh, yeah.
People are moving all over the place.
Yeah, and then coming in and out. Like, if you got a band that moves a lot, and there are fixed lights for each microphone stand, and they start leaving that microphone stand and doing stuff, they're in darkness, dude. They're in, like, shadows. And that's when... that instead of going with my shutter, I'm like, he's gonna come back. I see him swaying, and then wait for him to hit the light, and then boom, and then.
Well, what sucks is, like you said, they have the fixed lighting. The hardest part for me for shooting bands is always the drummer.
Oh yeah,
because he's
poor
in
drummers.
He's in the black hole in the back. No
Poor
lighting.
Drummers. No lighting.
Yeah.
Southport actually brought up lighting on the drummer the last show I was at, but it was messed up because I knew they were going to take video for this one song, and I was like, I got to make sure I don't stay on the stage for that, being like, cordial with the other photographers. And then all of a sudden this beautiful light comes right on the drummer. I'm like, dude, I've been trying to shoot him this whole time. And then all the video guy gets the beautiful lighting. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, drummers get the short end of the stick for sure. And that's why, like, I hate to admit it, but I will dedicate a half of a song to a drummer. And then if they don't get light the rest of the time, I can't do anything, because it takes all of, like, if I'm in front of the stage, I can go bam, 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 bam with all the different members. But the drummer's specific in the back. And even though he's stationary, if there's no light back there, it's really hard to get a picture.
A good photo. Yeah.
And they're moving fast with their arms. And I like to get that frozen look. And if they're moving quick with their arms, it's always going to be some kind of motion blur. And sometimes it looks good, but sometimes if they're just bleh, like, it just doesn't. And like,
well, it sucks if you freeze them and both their hands are down. It looks like they're just sitting there.
Yeah, it looks like they're just sitting there.
Yeah,
yeah. You want to get their hands up.
I like sometimes getting them, like, cocked back.
Yeah.
But like you said, every once in a while, motion blur is good.
Right. And honestly, to retract one of the things I talked about, I never go chit, 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 chit. For a drummer, sometimes I will try to do that because, like I said, I'm not giving them the whole set. So while I'm back there, I want to get as many photos as I can of them. And once I lock in my focus and I know that that's going to be a clean picture, I'm going to let at least 5 shots go through, maybe just one, just so I can get one of the motions where they're not doing something, because if there's no changing light, then you can spray shutter like that. But I'm just not a fan. I feel like, especially in post, the less pictures you take, the easier it is to edit.
There's a term for, it's like monkey checking or something like that.
Chimping.
Chimping.
Yeah, chimping's when you keep looking at,
I catch myself to do because someone told me about that 5 years ago.
Yeah, what's wrong with it? What they say was wrong with it?
No, they brought it up. They're like, it's called Chimping.
Chimping, yeah.
And-
Chimping is looking back at your camera every time. Like,
Or like you take a picture, you look at it on the screen.
yeah.
You take a picture.
And
you look
honestly,
at it on the
I do
screen.
it. I do it every now and then in the beginning if lights change.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because you're gonna check your settings, you know, because we have the technology now to where you can look at the back of your camera and be like, oh, this setting would look like
Yeah.
this. Let me take a picture of it. Oh, that's a little bit too
Oh,
dark.
let me open the exposure
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. But you're gonna miss a shit ton of shots if you start chimping during the set. And
I
like,
try to do it before the
yeah,
set.
before. And then like, say for instance, the whole lighting scenario changes. Take a couple shots real quick. Look at what your light looks like and see if you can like, because if they go from no backlight to backlight, it's going to be such a bright picture you may not be able to see your subject anymore. So you gotta chimp a little bit, but not to the point where every picture you're looking back at your camera.
Are
Yeah.
you to the point where you walk in a room and you're like, oh, this shutter speed, this
I could be pretty
exposure,
close, yeah.
Like
I'm
you
not
can
good with
usually
white
ballpark
balance.
it?
I'm still trying to get good with like the warmth readings and stuff. That's something that I'm still getting into. Like there's always something to learn with photography, which is kind of cool about it.
There's so much.
There's so much, dude.
Like I was antiquing and I found an old naval photography book, and it's like this thick.
Pictures of people's belly buttons.
Huh?
What?
No. That's actually Navy.
I'm just sorry.
Naval
Sorry.
photography.
I couldn't
Sorry.
help it. Sorry.
All right, bad joke. But you know, like something I'm trying to learn is how to take photos of people, natural lighting, and there's certain things that you don't think about. Like some people don't like photos of themselves, just like their voice. People don't like their voice,
Yeah.
and so you have to take out like redness in people. I'm like, oh, I would never thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see
Messing
it.
with how red someone is.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances. Like I heard somewhere that a person's good side is the side they part their hair on, which I would have never thought about something like that. But I heard it, and I've noticed that like that's pretty much people's good side, and like little things like that. And dude, like when I was like he mentioned, I don't do a lot of model shoots. I've done a couple just trying out, working on my portraiture, but
Yeah.
like nothing like for like a major. I mean, I've done headshots and stuff, but like model artsy stuff is really hard because these girls are there to model. They're not there as a person that happens to need pictures. They're there
Right.
as the body. And you can change an angle and make a person look a lot better or a lot worse. Like obviously like shooting up on a bigger person isn't going to be flattering. You want to shoot down on them.
Yeah.
But things like that you don't think about like when you're in the mix of taking photos and like I've got a lot of pictures that should never see the light of day and will never see the light of day that are very unflattering photos of people that I guess, I mean, I could probably use as blackmail eventually down the line.
I'm glad I also think like that.
Yeah. Like, don't mess me over, man. All those pictures from the last shoot will get out.
Well, what's funny is there's one person I told about. It was Ricky. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, I got some bad photos of you at the last show. He's like, post them. He's like,
yeah, he
I
would
want
love that.
people to see me as I perform. He's like, I want people to see, everything.
Right.
So I usually just take a Chinese hat of him and throw it on him because he looks.
There you go. Yeah,
That's
that
what I
would
do.
totally make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, who did their photos at the on the West Bank? The band they did, was that them that recently did band photos at Shakespeare? Do you know where Shakespeare is? I want to say it's like a retirement village. It could have been an institution. I don't think it was.
Oh, Cerebral.
Yeah, Cerebral.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. It was Cerebral.
Cerebral.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what it was.
And it was he plugged his friend's name. I can't remember.
Because this
It
came
was.
out cool. It sucks though, because like a year ago, I did pictures with my buddy that's in a band, Adam Pierce, at the same location.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it sucks that it's hard to be original. I'm not saying like somebody did it before me. I'm not saying I was original in the thing, but it's just like, eh. And New Orleans, bro, New Orleans is so small. It has been photographed. I feel like
Yeah,
every
it's got
location.
there's those hot spots, like
Yeah.
there's the
The
certain
cemeteries.
Yeah, Bridge at City Park. I mean, like if I'm going to take family photos, everyone's like, "Let's go to City Park," and I'm like, "Okay,
yeah
Oh, but see, the
underneath
City
the
Park.
oak tree on the bridge. Yeah,
that bridge, dude. I end up at that
the-
bridge every time.
I find some deep spots like
what,
the abandoned
Paracel
parts.
or whatever.
The abandoned parts are cool. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of good spots. Like, there are cool. Where's that? Like, it looked like a snowball stand. It's kind of like off back on Marconi. And it's like if you park and then walk a little bit, there's
The
like
bathrooms.
this. Yeah.
I've taken photos.
Like, that's a cool spot.
That's where the kids go to in high school, to toke a little bit and drink.
It's a long way to go to Toke.
I mean, not for me. I live like across the street.
Oh, okay. Well, then never mind.
But that's where like we would go to hang out and kind of party and whatnot
Yeah.
in those abandoned places.
Oh yeah, there's always like broken beer bottles and stuff like hanging out and everything.
Spray
Maybe
paint,
a
really cool
syringe or two. Y'all
graffiti.
partied pretty hard, huh?
Yeah. Do some DMT. Plug that one more time.
This show is brought to you by DMT.
Hashtag DMT.
DMT and Juul, the new Juul DMT model.
But yeah, I mean, City Park has a lot. Before they remodeled with that new golf course.
Oh yeah.
There were so many spots.
Oh,
to
that
go out
there was
there.
back there was just empty, dude. It was great.
And it was overgrown, wild looking, and you could go out there, and not a lot of people would go out there for fear of their life.
For sure.
You know, homeless people.
But honestly, dude,
coyotes.
that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Whenever you have that feeling of I shouldn't be here, that's like the best place to do a photo shoot.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the first thing I ever shot was Six Flags, and I mean, I got a camera for Christmas, and then we snuck into Six Flags in like February.
Can't do it anymore because
No.
there's security.
Oh, I got summoned, bro. I went back and I had to go to court and everything. But the first time I went and took pictures. Those are the ones that I put on Facebook, and people were like, "Oh, these are pretty cool. Maybe you should look into doing this." Like, and it never even like crossed my mind that you could do it for a living.
I think the coolest video shoot / photos I've ever gotten was in rural Mississippi. Not Sweetwater, Mississippi, but rural.
I was in Laurel and got some cool photos. But go ahead.
It was right outside of Magnolia, Mississippi, not too far from where the Leonard Skinner airplane crashed.
Oh, okay.
Like right in that area.
It wasn't their airplane, huh?
No.
Oh, damn.
There was this old plantation type looking house, and I'm pretty sure I've told you about it, but I was doing the music video, and the neighbor was like, "Oh, I know about this cool house, you know, no one lives there anymore. He passed away, yada yada. It's, you know, I know the family, it's fine, we can go over there." And the dude was a history buff. So, and he traveled the world, and he had his beautiful garden in the back. And when you walk into the house, it's these 20-foot tall doors. You walk in.
Nice.
To the left, it's all this antique gold, china, like a lot of really expensive stuff that's just sitting out in the middle of the woods.
Sweet.
And then in his, no electricity, by the way. It's
Oh, yeah.
all old school.
I wasn't picturing, yeah.
In the room to the right, you know, the old beds with the hanging and
Oh,
a coffin.
yeah.
Coffin.
Coffin.
Yeah, there's a coffin.
There was a coffin in the bedroom?
Yes.
Was there-
Not being used.
But like who has a coffin in their house?
It was for a Halloween party, the woman told us.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he would get in the coffin and he'd pop out and scare everyone.
Then he died?
Huh?
Oh, sorry, never
Yes,
mind.
then he died.
Wow.
Well, so when you open those doors, there's no back to the house. It's just straight through. So those, you can literally just walk around the house and then go in.
It like broke down or whatever? Or
No,
was
no,
It's just like an open
that's
house?
how they built the house. It's just
Cool.
open.
Sweet.
So it's like doors and then nothing. And when we went upstairs, there's like a yarn wheel, bees everywhere.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Kind of like the Amityville Horror.
Okay.
How there's flies everywhere.
Yeah.
But bees.
I don't know why I went to My Girl in my
Or
head.
Wicker Man. it was like Wicker Man. Bees
Okay.
everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so that's the main house. Then in the back, there's this trail that leads through the garden. And then there's something out of Evil Dead. I swear to God. I have photos, and I'll show it to you after this. The house looked like the house from Evil Dead. Had the porch swing. It was terrifying. And the dude was a painter. Had these really trippy, like a photo of a woman like burning in flames. and
What? That's
weird
awesome, dude. That's
shit.
really cool.
And everything's overgrown because he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do all of our shooting, and then after like 2 or 3 hours, we were like, all right, we're done. This old man shows up. He looks like the snow shoveler from Home Alone.
Yes.
And he just shows up. He's like 80, and he's like, it was his gay lover who was taking care of the house. And we're like, hey, we just shot here. We didn't know anyone still lived here. We're sorry. But at the same time, he was like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. but all the photos just were so creepy, and it was such an adventure.
Yeah.
And we had that one guy like, we shouldn't be here. There's always that one guy.
Oh
like,
yeah.
we shouldn't be.
He
here.
dies first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else had a great time, and that was like the best experience of like just going with the flow to get that photo and get that video.
So for my buddy Adam Pierce, when he was in Black Magnolia, we did a band shoot with them, and the smokestacks where Buku Fest is out by the convention center, like on the river.
Yeah, the Market Avenue. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
I've heard it's called a million things, dude. It's been, but yeah, there's two giant stacks that are on the river. He was like, hey man, I want to do a shoot. I want it to look kind of rock and roll, kind of heavier. I'm like, all right, I got an idea. So I went and scouted that location. I'm like, oh, this will be perfect. You put the band in all these locations here, here, and here. So I call him up. I'm like, hey man, I got a place for the photo shoot, but it might involve a little breaking and entering. And he was like, I'd be offended if it didn't. So then we all went out there the next day. We broke into or not broke in, like you could just walk in. We didn't have to we didn't even have to move anything. There was like a thing in the gate that everybody because people go there. Yeah. So we're in there taking pictures, and I've got this like really good idea of I'm gonna get like a silhouette shot of all these guys in this giant window. So it's gonna be like they're all blacked out, and then the lights coming through the window. So as the first guy jumps on stage, on the windowsill, what we didn't know is they had motion sensors. So as soon as he jumps up there, so all of a sudden we had to grab all of our stuff and like run out of this place. Yeah. And like we ended up seeing like 3 cop cars. We had gotten out and went across the street and started taking pictures over there and just pretended like we didn't know what was going on. And they never came and bothered us. But that stuff, like photo shoots are supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to have fun.
Live
and look,
on the edge.
Yeah, if it gets a little dangerous is okay. Like a little danger, like that invokes creativity. Because like if your back's against the wall, you get kind of like, oh, we could do this or fight or flight type thing,
Mm-hmm.
And then you just battle the situation with like creativity. It's a lot of fun, man. I love band shoots. That's good times.
What would you say is your favorite place locally to shoot?
Like music venue.
Well, music, or even if it's like you said, with a
Six Flags is really cool. My favorite place locally to shoot. Honestly, I really like shooting music, and I would like to say that Buku Fest is probably my favorite thing to shoot because of the diversity it brings in our normal area. Like it changes an entire area. The Mardi Gras ballroom feels like an old warehouse party, like a rave. The main stage is like right outside of Mardi Gras World, and it's like, it just doesn't feel like you're in New Orleans. It feels like they turned it into something. They have like the graffiti wall where there's all these different art installations, and like I like the Bywater for that reason. Like around the St. Roch Market area, like they have so many cool murals and graffiti and things of that nature, and it's a really interesting look. And actually, some of the people that do those actually do stuff at Buku Fest. So it's kind of a cop out because it's a festival, but I really like that area and what they do to it in the time.
Yeah, well, also I'm sure the lighting effects and all that. When
top
you see
notch,
some of the
dude.
Pictures that you post from Buku,
Yeah, Buku does a lot.
I went and checked out your page, and I got to see a couple of them.
Oh, cool. The thing about Buku, like, which I kind of feel like you were talking about where you first start in like horrible lighting scenarios. And when I was shooting music, it was like the Scorsese's playing at the dive bar in Metairie. Yeah. So it wasn't like you had like production.
Yeah.
And learning in such a dark area is a huge advantage because once you get to high-end production, you're ready. Like you're ready, even if it goes dark, because Buku is a notoriously dark festival. Mm-hmm. Like people hate shooting Buku because of how low light it can be. Like main stage, not so much, but everywhere else, like it's shadows singing in front of you with like a dark purple background. It's like, how am I going to shoot this? And I kind of know what to do in those scenarios. And that's why I think I am as good as most photographers that are on gigs at, say, a festival like that. Like anybody, like not anybody could shoot a well-produced and lit stage, but it's miles easier to shoot a well-produced stage than it is a shadowy figure in a smoke-filled purple stage. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's where it kind of like will set you apart. If you're able to just accomplish scenarios that some people get a little bit confused with and still come out with a crisp in focus or a creatively exposed picture, then you'll be good to go.
Well, one thing I don't like about photography is let's just say you've been dragged through the mud.
You don't like me because of photography. I'm sorry.
No.
No, yeah.
You've been dragged through the mud. You've done the time. You've worked in the dive bars. You've just like a lot of people. The photographers I've met in this area, they are very diverse in what they do. While other photographers, they find one thing and they stick to it, which is completely fine. And then you have people that buy cameras, like really high-end cameras,
Yeah.
and they're like, I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I mean, so everybody's a photographer nowadays. And honestly, everybody's a
Especially with
photographer
their cell phones.
with their phone. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, dude, I'm not the tallest person, so trying to shoot like over a crowd with all these phones above their heads looks dumb. I hate it. But actually, almost every live shoot I do, I try to focus on one phone and get a picture of the stage behind the phone. That's like an Easter egg of mine. And you'll notice that now if you look at almost every one of my live concerts that there's that picture. And it's because I hate it so much. It's because I'm like cursing, like, damn phone. But
the photo comes
I
out.
make
Yeah.
a cool picture out of it. So I'm like, okay, I'm able to manipulate it. But that's just a little thing. But everyone's a photographer, and you're going to go crazy comparing yourself to everybody. You're going to go crazy. And you're going to go crazy hating on people that have cameras because everybody's got a camera, dude.
No.
And moms have cameras. And moms want to take pictures of their kids. And who am I to say don't take a picture of your kid? It's like it was like an old Andy Warhol quote where he was like, if you're an artist, go make art and don't care about anybody else. And while they're judging your art, just go make more art. And that's what you got to do. You got to just focus on your path. And because like everybody else, like,
Haters are gonna hate.
well, haters are going to hate and everybody's going to try
They're
to do
peanut
what they
butter
like,
and jealous.
I was that person that just got a camera. I didn't call myself a photographer for a long time, and I still don't call myself an artist. So we're not past those levels yet. But you gotta understand, like, everything's relative to everybody. So if somebody just picked up a camera and wants to use it, who am I to say don't use it? Just try not to get in my shot, or I'll have to talk to you about it. But that's about it. You know, and we've already touched on that.
Yeah. Don't get in my fucking shot.
Just please
Yeah,
don't get in
we're
my
good.
shot, bro. Like I got a couple of Don Cooper shiny ass head. I mean, I'm balding too, but I can call him a shiny ass head. But he was wearing like a pink sweater, and I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, that's another thing
That's where Photoshop would help you, my friend.
yeah, Photoshop would help me.
Man,
Make it a
Don
black sweater.
You just start adding, and let's put a hat on
Let's
there.
get my Don Cooper filter.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, that's another thing is if you are going to shoot someone else's show, don't wear a bright ass color. It took me a while to learn that. I learned that like 4 years in.
I'm gonna start coming to your shows wearing very obnoxious and loud clothes.
Okay.
I'm gonna wear a morph suit.
You can pay the band back after. Nice. That'd be kind of cool. Do like a Green Man outfit. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you could just, well, you don't use Photoshop.
I
but
don't
was
use
gonna
Photo-
say, you could turn it into whatever you want. I've had that happen. There's like 5 dudes in morph suits, and that turned into a plus, actually, because
Yeah.
it adds this weird, crazy thing. One of my first shows I actually did was out in Homa at Taco Fest. And
That sounds so made up.
Taco Fest.
Taco Fest in Homa. Celebrating
it's so real.
when
I'm
you
telling
think
you.
tacos,
Spanish Homa
you think
heritage.
of
The
Homa.
reason it's Taco Fest is because of this open field right next to a Taco Bell. They would pull a flatbed trailer out, and they would get like 10, 12 bands. And this is when ska was still popular. So they had Joystick, they had
like Angry Banana and all them.
Crazy 88.
Parasites. Is it Parasites? They had Parasites and
Next to a Taco Bell?
Yeah, and it's on this, and that's where everyone would go eat is at the Taco Bell. So they call it Taco Fest. And this went on for a couple of years.
Nice.
And that's where some of the I wish I had a better camera because if I would have got with a better camera, it would have been some of the best shots I've ever got.
Yeah. I think. Oh, go ahead.
Out of the 7 years I've been taking photos, I've seen one guitar smashed. I know it's not practical, but at the same time, I got to see it there.
I haven't seen one, so good.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
The closest that I ever see to it is Latino when he's playing with Finn Fox,
Yeah.
and he like beats up that his
Latino goes
guitar
crazy.
For,
No,
The last song?
they took because the flatbed had metal on it, and they just started smashing
Nice.
it, dove off the flatbed, and it's like a 18-wheeler flatbed, dove off it, and just kept continuing
See,
to
that's
smash
punk,
it.
man. I love punk. I love punk for that reason because punk music probably makes some of the coolest pictures. Because I'm a big fan of getting in a mosh pit and taking pictures from that mosh pit. Because I've grown up on mosh pits. Like usually find myself in the middle of a lot of them. And I mean, I'm not like a big guy. I have fun. Like I don't try to ever hurt anybody, but I like releasing aggression. Like I feel like that's the best release of aggression is just getting in a mosh pit and running around and screaming to your favorite music.
I do that, but in bathrooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
just piss
Be
over
careful.
everything.
You can slip and fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that same show, they found a moose head, stuffed moose head on the side of the road, brought it to the show, and in the mosh pit, we're throwing the moose head around.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Some of the best photos I've gotten.
That's punk, man. Actually, like the only time I've ever gotten like really like knocked down seriously was at a punk show. I mean, I say punk. It was more like it was Warped Tour, but it was back when Warped Tour was at the in Kenner.
Out at the Pontchartrain
Yeah, the
Center.
Pontchartrain Center. And it was like Newfound Glory or somebody. And I was in this like little circle pit and I'm like running around with everybody like skanking or whatever they do in the ska. And all of a sudden I turn around and there's this like girl. And I had never like squared up with a girl in a mosh pit before. And I was like, I hesitated and I didn't know what to do. And dude, she police stomps me in the chest and I like fly back like 3 feet. And it was like the most destroyed I had ever gotten in a mosh pit. I was on the ground. I was like, oh my God, it hurts so bad. But I mean, dude, it's wholesome. It's fun. It really is. Like, I mean, trying to hurt somebody without trying to hurt somebody is like a nice, it's fun.
Finding the middle ground.
Yeah. And
I've seen someone's mom get backhanded because she was on the edge of the mosh pit.
And you don't want to be there. That's
And
more
the
dangerous
guy-
than being in the
what
mosh
was
pit.
It was a small venue. Well, it was in the it was at House of Blues in the
the parish room.
Parish
the
room.
parish.
Yeah, that's a small venue.
And
There's a pit in
the
there?
Dude,
That's
yes, the dude crossed the room in a couple seconds and
Oh,
just
yeah.
hit
Pila hater.
Yeah, because some do that arm swing thing, and I'm not a big fan of that because it's
The
kind of
bees.
yeah, it's like punching.
Oh, it's like the bees / karate type thing.
Yeah.
Where they throw their leg up, bring the fist around.
Now I learned the best way to start a mosh pit from like Cypress Hall, like way back in the day, like when I used to go see shows there, and it's the double headlock. Like if I was here with Pickle, he'd put me in a headlock and I'd put him in a headlock, and then we'd spin in a circle just as fast as we could. And that's the quickest way to whip up a mosh pit because people just get sucked into it and thrown out. Oh, it's so cool. I've seen it work a couple of times. It's really fun. Anyway, yeah, kids, there's your lesson for how to take out a whole crowd.
Yeah, you want to start a mosh pit.
Yeah.
Double headlock.
Double headlocks.
Sadly, I don't have any pickled items for tonight.
Yes.
They have not come in the mail yet, but
Thank God.
I got like 5 things coming.
Lazy Eye, he has put me through hell.
Yeah.
Pickled, let's see, the snickle.
I
The
didn't have.
stickle
I,
looked good, honestly.
No,
I had
it-
mentioned.
I
like,
didn't.
yeah,
I didn't
it
have
was-
time to pick anything up tonight. And if I was gonna pick something up, it was gonna be bad. And I didn't want to step off on the wrong foot with you and put you through hell. So you know, you got a
man,
Yeah,
freebie.
the
was
let's see,
gonna
the
get, like-
pickle candy.
You got some of that? Hey,
pickle,
how about you
yeah.
want some of that?
What is that? Pickle candy?
Yeah, pickle candy. So I have already had this. I've had it twice now, and I didn't like it either time.
I mean, I don't. It doesn't sound like it was meant to be good.
No, it's pretty
they're
awful.
individually wrapped though. That's nice.
Yeah,
Oh, they look like that Starlight Mint that I really like too. Dude, fuck red Starlight Mints, by the way. These green ones are where it's at. Not these in particular.
the spearmint ones.
Yeah, the spearmint ones. They're almost as good as the pillowy Mexican restaurant.
You know what?
Mints.
Actually, I do have something.
Oh shit! Which one should I do?
You should do these. Because these haven't been used. They're out of season.
The pickled cotton candy.
The pickled
Oh no, the pickled candy
candy
canes.
canes. All right, think
okay, that's
fast.
a little better.
Think fast.
I can't, but I'll try. All right. A pickled candy cane.
I had those on reserve just in case for a day like this.
Yeah, obviously not Christmas.
Damn it!
Well, he didn't want them. He wouldn't eat them.
I gotta have one. 'Cause
Dude, candy canes take forever to eat too. This is gonna be like the.
I should have started the interview off on these so you could just. I got with those. I had another pack of rotisserie chicken that I got from my cousin.
Rotisserie chicken candy cane.
Yes.
Oh.
And it tasted like chicken, and that was the weird part.
All right, so look, I broke off a little thing. I'm gonna try that.
yeah,
Eating a candy cane is like hard.
Yeah, just bite into it.
eating a pickle candy cane is even
We're not
harder.
supposed to wait on you.
No,
Oh, it's sweet and oh, I don't like that it's still sweet. That's kind of weird. Dude.
Yeah, it tastes pretty much the exact same as the candy, like garbage.
Oh, don't bite it. Biting is much worse.
Oh.
I feel like this is probably better.
I'm sorry. Oh.
This is probably better than the pickle candy, though, I feel like.
I mean, you
No,
can
they're
try
about
that
the
too.
same.
I do have some jungle trial mix if you want
No, I don't want to eat bugs tonight.
to. Okay. Just checking.
It's not a bug eating night.
I went to the insectarium and ate some bugs with my kid. Cinnamon centipede.
Oh, there's no cinnamon on these.
It was really weird, though, because like all the little legs get stuck in your teeth and like you're picking out bug out of your teeth. It's really nasty.
What about sheep placenta? Are you feeling sheep placenta tonight?
Nope, not feeling sheep placenta.
What?
These are the things that Devin has lined up.
Jesus, dude. Sheep placenta?
Yeah. I got some props down here in the cabinet lined up for Pickle. I will go ahead and tell you, Pickle, while I have you here. I want to get your thoughts on this. What I have lined up
Oh, man.
for the show.
Why can't you go get the pickled cheese like Tony Drama recommended?
Dude, the snickle, though.
I'm
man.
waiting on.
it was awful.
I'm waiting on Tony to send me that.
I'm going to try one of these candies out.
It's not much better.
I feel like this is almost, it looks like almost the same thing.
Yeah.
So
it
there's
is.
the gummy pickle. It's a dill pickle gummy thing. It's like a gummy worm, gummy bear, but it's a dill pickle.
Ooh,
And it's
chewy.
the same size, yeah.
That'd be weird.
Oh,
So I have that.
I mean, none of
one.
these are going to be normal, but
no.
having trouble
The
with
best thing that I have tried is on actually a pre-recorded episode. So stay tuned for more. You'll see that soon.
We're not going to say what it is. Though.
Yeah.
this. Oh, this is,
But everything else has been awful.
oh, man.
Oh, except for the pickles that he made.
The tomatoes.
Have you ever tried the, what is it, like a dill pickle slushy from Sonic? I'm pretty sure they have those now.
Yeah, I have not tried them.
You will, though.
Yeah. You should take it to the dome and get like a brain freeze challenge. Like, see
Yeah.
how quick you can drink one.
Oh,
I
Ugh.
got these nuts, dill pickle flavored gourmet peanuts.
that one may not be too
I
bad.
hope somebody does something good with a pickle. Do you get to try good? Like, do you get like fried pickle chips or anything like good?
Possibly. You'll have to stay tuned and find out. That might be the one thing that I have tried that's been absolutely tolerable. Well, besides the garlic pickles, that he made.
Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went
did
to
some tomatoes.
I went to a place in Hot Springs that, like, you know how they have pickled chips that I'm used to seeing? They did fried pickle spears, and they were actually really good. It was almost like a fair festival style thing.
Yeah, I could see that one. You know, I mean, it's essentially the same duck as the
Yeah.
chips.
Pretty much fry everything, you'd be all right.
Pickle ice breeze pops.
There you go. Yeah, forget Sonic, dude. Get those.
Oh, I can't. Ugh.
And then we had the pickle soda pop.
Yeah, that was awful.
Ooh, I don't feel, yeah. Is that just like pickle juice, basically?
Basically,
Carbonated pickle juice.
Because I know people that'll do like, what is it, like a pickleback? Is that what they call it? Where they
yeah.
shoot?
Yeah, where like you'll shoot whiskey or tequila or whatever, and then
Yeah.
you'll take a
Pop a
shot
whole thing of pickle juice.
behind it. Yeah.
So that's what we have lined up for the pickled items in the future. So what do you guys think about the candy canes?
Candy cane's definitely better than the pickle candy, that's for sure. Pickle candy has no flavor, but a little hint of pickle. That is like sweet and pickly at the same time.
Do you want to go ahead and hold those candy canes up?
I like to hold them over the trash can and let go.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like to hold off on not eating
Yeah.
another one.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's all that I have pickle-wise
Thank God.
for now.
Thanks. So, Lazy Eye, where can people check out more about your photography and follow you?
So I have a website. It's www.lazeyeyephoto.com. On Instagram, it's @lazyeyeofficial. And on Facebook, it's www.facebook.com/lazeyeyephoto. Or you can just look Lazy Eye Photo up on the search engine. It's really cool because when you go on Google and you search Lazy Eye Photo, the first thing that pops up is a bunch of images of lazy eyes.
Yeah.
And then underneath it is my website. So you really gotta commit.
Yeah, it's like the WebMD link.
Yes.
Immediately followed up by Lazy Eye Photography.
Yeah, because unfortunately when you Google Lazy Eye Photo, you get photos of lazy eyes.
Yeah. So, I want to thank you for coming on.
Oh, it's been fun, man.
So,
What a blast.
Stay tuned. We will be back with more of The Scoop. Oh. Yeah, so all the parade stuff, man. It's been awesome, dude. Oh, hey. Yeah. So, I hope y'all enjoyed our interview with Lazy Eye. Be sure to check them out. LazyEyePhoto.com.
Or you can Google Lazy Eye Photo.
Yes.
But just be warned, you're going to get a lot of photos of lazy eyes, and then below that, his website.
Yes. Additionally, be sure to check us out, picklescoop.com, Facebook, where Facebook is The Scoop Show, at P-Scoop Podcast on Twitter. My Instagram is at Picklescoop, where you can follow the parade chase. I'm on parade 8 so far, just like the float I'll be on Friday.
Lacking. This is the worst year for you ever. In the
41
history.
is what I'm going to end with. Come on. So long as there's no rain.
Period.
Yeah, 41.
You okay?
I'm okay. It's okay. Right. So be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube here. If you're watching,
we're trying to get to that magic number.
Click the notify button to be notified, or the
ring ding
little bell. Be notified when we put out new content. Subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. Devin, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram, Devin Flamingo. You can follow me on Facebook, Devin Flamingo. And guess what? The website,
www.devinflamingo.com.
You got it. Yes, and that's DEVINFLEMINGO. DevinFlamingo.com.
So, till the next show, thanks for watching. And remember to stay in the loop.
Watch The Scoop.